Hey everyone, it's Denise Brown from caringourway.com, and welcome to a caregiving book club. And it seems like we're going to discuss books, but actually, we're going to discuss books with authors of books. And my friend and colleague, Bruce McIntyre, is here with me today. Hi, Bruce. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Denise. Thank you so much.
What's interesting is, Bruce, you appeared on the Caregiving Book Club podcast probably 4 years ago. And
Maybe
since
so.
then, yeah, since then you've added another book. You are the author of 5 books. Your most recent book is Receiving Peace. And your very first book, way back in 2008, is called Resilient Life. Oh, so you're a 15-year committed author.
I guess so.
I'm not sure if committed is the right word to use, but you are passionate about writing about caregiving, pulling in both your personal caregiving experience, caring for your wife, and then your professional experience supporting family caregivers. What keeps you writing?
I think I grew up in the southeastern United States, and I just see the world through the lens of story. And so I never have a shortage of stories, but also it's because I have been so impacted by the writings of so many other authors in a wide variety of genres. And those are just so impactful to me that I write, and I hope that that's going to be impactful for some other people.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about a writing practice. And I'm wondering what kind of writing practice you have.
Yeah, so when I was trying to get started on this years ago in my 20s, which is years and years ago, I there's one consistent thing you'll read in all books about writing from writers. They will tell you you have to write. But those methods are different. Some people it's 300 words a day. You lock yourself in a room for an hour or 4 hours, or it's 1,000 words, or there's all kinds of mechanisms. But I do find it's consistency. And for me, it's typically not long swaths of time. It is short bursts of time on a regular basis. So I can accomplish a lot in 20 to 30 minutes every day, a little bit, and it adds up, the writing, the rewriting. So that's been mine. And occasionally maybe there's this time when I sit down for a long swath, but those are few and far between for me.
And I also think something you really started our conversation with is this art of reading, which I think is so important as a writer because we appreciate like sentence structure, transitions, like good chapter headings, like all of that
Mhm.
an author really appreciates. And so when you see someone else do it, you think, gosh, that I love that sentence structure.
Right.
I'm curious, what is it that when you read or something really good, what are you looking at that you think that is good?
Yeah, so there's certain turns of phrase and certain authors that are just so good at it. Like for me, I would say Anne Lamott is really funny, and she just has in any I've read most of her books, and there will be great turns of phrase. Anna Quindlen, uh, great author, also just with gets so much across with an economy of words, paints pictures in just a few words. Bill Bryson, love Bill Bryson, very funny author. Um, and so those are three authors for me that are on my shelf, and I read almost everything they write because they just paint pictures in so few words, in a way that I enjoy. But yeah, I think everyone finds their people that they enjoy reading.
And I think what's interesting is we can look at reading in terms of everything we consume, which could be, for instance, I'm no longer on Twitter, I'm on Blue Sky. And there's some who post on Blue Sky that I'm just like, oh, like that is an amazing paragraph. Like, wow, so much
Yeah,
was said in
right,
such few words, and you get this picture that they painted.
right.
And I think it's also interesting. I got out of the habit of reading books when I was caring for my parents because I just couldn't.
Right.
And it really turned into just newsletters, newspapers, and magazines.
Mhm.
I'm still in that kind of habit of reading that. And I also think it's interesting when you read the sports section, which is very different than
Oh, yes.
reading hard-hitting news. I think that's very interesting in terms of different genres. And I
Right.
also think sometimes what's interesting is looking at how, for instance, the different genders will write. I find that fascinating too.
Hmm.
And it's just interesting to think about who your reader is and what your reader wants when you are the reader.
Right. That's true. And to that point, I'll have to say, people ask me sometimes, they're like, how do you get your ideas? Where did this come from? And this sounds terrible. I've told you this before. I write my books to me. They're about things I'm learning and I need and things that are helpful to me. And my assumption is if these are things I'm learning that are helpful to me as I try to apply them in my world, there's a certain percentage of people that will also identify with that. And so I'm like, so I kind of write them for myself.
I do too. So I write something on Mondays that's called Caregiving Comforts, and I've been writing them for just a little over 20 years. And I think of I think of myself when I'm writing them. And I think if I'm feeling discouraged or disappointed or upset, what do I want to read that makes me feel better or that helps me
Right,
feel better? So that's what I write. And then I feel better after I've
right.
written it.
Yeah,
So if I'm my own only reader, I have one satisfied reader.
right. So here's something I'm curious about on you or the people listening to this, another way to think about it. You do a lot of, you talk in front of crowds quite a bit as well. So do I. And I figured out along the way that I'm actually probably a speaker first who also writes books. But some people are authors and writers who also speak sometimes. So that's the other thing. When I'm writing a book, if I'm stuck, I imagine myself presenting this to a group, or I prepare it as if I'm going to present it and script it for a crowd. And then once I get that, I've got it. So if you read my books and you've heard me speak, you could imagine me delivering these. That's how I write. But some people are the opposite. So which way are you, Denise?
If I had to pick, I would say I'm the opposite. I never think
Yeah.
about what this sounds like on stage.
Okay.
I think about it as what it sounds like in someone's head, I
Right.
guess. So
Okay.
the experience is a little different.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating to me is I, for the life of me, could not do that. What you do, which is think about how it sounds on stage, even though I do present and speak regularly, I just couldn't do that. That's so
Ah,
interesting that you have that talent to
yeah.
be able to do that.
Yeah.
Basically, you're writing a speech
Yeah.
and a book at the same time.
That's right. In fact, I've had more than almost every book that I've written I've gotten into about 80% or 90% there. And then I switch into that mode of what if I were presenting this? And a lot of times I will present this before it's a book multiple times, and it kind of irons it out for me. And often I'll script those, and that's what lets me know, yes, this is in fact a book or it's not a book. In fact, I'm literally doing this right now. There's a group that I'm teaching a class to and I'm about going into the fourth week of it. And it might be my next book. And but it's been stuck for a long time. And it's been on the shelf for quite a while, and I brought it back out. I'm doing this 4 week thing. And I had someone, and I told the class that at the beginning, and in week 3, someone said, "Yeah, it's definitely a book. You need to finish it." I was like, "Okay." I was coming to the same conclusion. It really is something, but teaching it has helped me kind of get over that hump.
Wow. So what can you tell us about the book?
Nothing at all. No.
That's the best kind of tease. You'll just have to purchase it and then you'll
Well,
know.
yeah, it's about serendipity.
Oh, wow.
Serendipity's not very popular right now, though, so that's why I might sit on it for a while. But
Oh,
I would like for it to be, but maybe serendipity is about to be popular again, so maybe I should be the first in the pool. I don't know.
or it will become popular because of your book.
One
Like you'll
one one would
spark.
like to think, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so this leads me to another question I want to ask you. We had connected maybe last week and we were talking about what this show would be like. And you were talking about how a successful author in terms of book sales does not necessarily have meant as many book sales as you would think a successful
It's
author
true.
has. Yeah, so tell us what that stat is.
So I don't know that there is one authoritative list of statistics on this. I've just seen a medley of statistics over the years about this. And so here are a few of them. One is that I've heard for years and years that if you sell, whether you are self-published or traditionally published through a major publisher or a small publisher, if you sell more than 2,500 books, and lately that might be more like 3,000 books, in the life of the book, you've done great. You're in the upper percentages. Now, no one wants to hear that when they're writing a book. They're like, what? I thought I was going to sell tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. And some people will. And I hope somebody watching this sells hundreds of thousands of books. I have never sold hundreds of thousands of books. I've sold thousands of books of every single book. Wait, can I say plural on all of those? I'm not sure. But anyway,
It's
but
okay. I would definitely say books for
yeah,
you.
sold
Definitely.
books. Yeah, yeah. So and that's yeah. So it's not always as much as you think, and there are different routes to go. The major publisher may be hard to crack that and get in with an agent and so forth. At the end of the day, even with them, you still have to sell your book. They're going to make it widely available. There's a lot of things you don't have to do, but you still have to sell your own book. If you're with a small publisher, there's more that you'll have to do. You might make a little more money per sale, and you're still going to have to sell your book. If you self-publish and you hire an editor and maybe cover design and formatting and so forth, and do it all yourself, you'll make a lot more profit per book, and you'll still have to sell your book. You know, um, so I've done it two of those ways: small publisher and self-published. I've never been published by a major publisher, major publishing deal, but it's always been great part-time income, and pretty much I've looked at it as it's paid for kids' college and a lot of vacations.
And it's put you on the stage.
And it's been a ticket to get on the stage.
Yes. Yeah. And what I also think is not only has it been the ticket, but it's also been the content for the stage for you. Because you're really writing with the intent of how does this sound on stage, which means you're creating your keynote as you're writing your book.
Yeah, doing the work once to present it in two different forms. I think
Yes.
that's another great, when you talk about marketing and how do you sell your book, I think that's one of the ideas is pretty much you can do the work once and you can stack it in a lot of it can become articles. These can be cut, they can be just in your social media, it can be in a course, class, speaking. It could become something that gets pitched to news outlets. um, you know, there are many ways to slice and dice the same information. And the fear is you're like, oh, I'm going to put the same things out there so many times. People are going to get sick of hearing it. The number of people who might get sick of hearing that would be very few. That would be one or two or three people. So don't worry about that. Um, yeah. So yeah, do good work once and then find ways to multiply it.
I started writing these caregiving comforts on Mondays. And then I thought, after I'd been doing it for about 4 years, I thought, I wonder if I could put these together in a book. So I did. Then I kept writing them and then kept releasing books. And then I thought, I wonder if I could do a podcast where I really read these. So I do that. And then I thought, I wonder if I could teach people the process that I use to write these. And so now I have a workshop. I just did it a couple weeks ago to a support group for family members of persons with Alzheimer's. We practiced using this process as a way to release stress. Yeah, so it's writing it and then thinking about where else can it take you.
Hmm.
And that's fun.
It is fun. It's great fun.
Absolutely. Okay, I want to ask you about AI, and then I want to ask you something else. But let's talk about AI for a minute.
Okay.
I have been using AI to improve my writing,
Hmm.
and I love it. I love it. I will write something. I use Claude. I will say to Claude.ai, what do you think? He gives me suggestions, and then I get to choose whether or not I use the suggestions. But what I find is it's a challenge to make it better, and then it gets better.
Right.
What's interesting is I'm spending more time on what I'm writing because I don't just now I kind of think, was I writing crap before? But I guess I guess I just have a writing partner now that I
Right.
didn't feel like I had
Right.
before, and I'm really enjoying it. It's taking me longer to create content because I am reiterating, and we know the art of writing is rewriting. I always did rewriting, but I'm doing more rewriting, and I am really enjoying it.
Hmm.
How are you using AI, if at all?
Yeah. So that's, I mean, it's a journey, right? Of an evolutionary process through this. But yeah, I'd say 3 or 4 years ago, when a lot of that conversation really came to the forefront about AI, I was, as someone who has honed the craft of writing for decades, as I told you the other day, I was really offended. I was like, you mean these people that can't put a sentence together are all of a sudden going to be cranking out beautiful writing? That made me angry. And then I utilized, and as I've learned AI, and like I did the Google AI Essentials course and learned it. I've done some created videos and budget analysis and all kinds of things with various AI tools now in the last year or two. And as I do that, every time I create something really great, I'm like, you know what? There's someone who that has been their career, and they have honed the craft for decades of budget analysis and creating videos and so forth. And I bet if they saw what I created with AI in 10 minutes, they would be so mad, And I was like, okay, so that's all right. I just have to get over this and just try to harness and utilize the technology with as much integrity as possible. And so that's just where we're at. I think there's a tension, an inherent tension to this. So I think if you type up something, your query, and it spits out something beautiful, and you slap it into a product, it's probably going to give whoever it pulled it from credit, but maybe not. So that's one issue. Because if someone uses my stuff and says, "Hey, take Bruce's books and create something," and don't give me credit, I'm going to be mad. Um, but you know, uh, lots of people have produced lots of great content. And if everyone's getting credit for their work and our writing is collectively getting better, then that's good. That's good. So yeah, I'm still, I don't know. I still have mixed feelings on AI, but I'm definitely using it more and more.
Yeah, I was just like, I'll see what happens when I put my draft in Claude and ask for feedback. And then I was like, wow, Claude is really challenging me to be better. And I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so I hadn't thought about the other side of it, like people using my writing without my permission. And I've had a lot of experiences where people have used my content without my permission. So it does make me crazy, and I suppose maybe that's the way I deal with it. I just don't think about it.
Yeah. I don't like it to think about it either, but
Yeah.
I've always borrowed this little sentence from Robert Fulghum, one of my other favorite authors of all time. I still read his blog. He's like 89 years old, still blogs every week or two. And he wrote some significant books back in the late 80s, 90s. Everything I Need to Know I learned in kindergarten. Oh, it was on fire when I lay down on it. Loved his storytelling and his philosophies of life and so forth. But one thing he says after a lot of his stuff is, hey, feel free to use what I've written here. Just give me credit. Okay, fair enough. And that's all. That's all. Just, if you use my stuff, fine. Just give me credit.
Absolutely, because we understand what we put into what we create.
Hmm. Yeah,
And it's a lot.
right.
It's a lot. And we haven't even talked about sometimes the emotional turmoil of actually creating something that you put into the world. That takes incredible courage to be able to do that. Put it out there and say, okay, judge me. Let
Yeah,
me
yeah,
know, let me know what you think.
yeah.
That's hard to do. That's hard to
Yes,
do.
right. Writing is inherently vulnerable. I've said something before. I'm not sure if I've not said it in a while, but something like the audacity of sharing what your perspectives and what you have to say is only matched or surpassed by the vulnerability of having put out there what it is that you have to say. So, it does take a little bit of audacity to say, I have some good ideas here for other people. I don't
Yes,
think everyone thinks that way, but some of us
yes,
do. And we're like, I have
yes.
something to say, and this is going to be helpful to folks, but it does inherently make you vulnerable.
I spend time learning how to launch products and programs and courses, even though I've been launching programs, products, and courses for decades, but I always feel like I can learn more and I want to teach people in my training program participants what to do. And I was in one training, and it was so helpful to hear this guy. He was great. James Whitmore, I think is his name. He said, the level of success you will achieve will directly relate to the tolerance you have for your haters. So,
Mm,
meaning, if one person says, I didn't like this, and that's your tolerance level, you're like, oh my gosh, one person said that will stop your marketing. And that's your level of success. And if you get used to, or if you turn, uh, if you turn off those comments and don't let them stop you, then your success will grow and grow and grow. I thought
mhm.
that was so helpful to remember because if someone said to me, "Oh, I didn't like that," I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, should I redo it?" Like, should I stop? What do I do? And now I know, huh, keep going, keep
Right.
going. Certainly, there are improvements I can make. And so I always take that into account. What could I do that's better? How could I make this better? But it's most important that you don't stop because if one person stops
Mhm.
you, that's where your success will stop as well.
Yeah. The way I've often thought about it is there's a couple of things. I- One is kind of like the stand-up comedians credo. Like they might be in a nightclub doing their stand-up comedy and there's 99 people who are loving it and there's the one heckler in the back, and the thought is, well, it was for the 99, not for the one. So, oh well, kind of dismissive, but honestly that's my first knee-jerk reaction when I get criticism, or I speak at a conference, and sometimes they'll share all the evaluations, and they're 95+% great, but there's always the one that's like, who was this about, or you get the one person that read your stuff that's like, boo. And my first thought is, it wasn't for them, it was for everybody else that loved it, so get lost. So there's that part. The other way to go though is to think, maybe there's a kernel of truth here. Maybe there's something I can hear and need to give a little bit of thought to. And so that's after I've calmed down from going, bottom. Yeah. Then I'm like, oh, okay, let's see. What should I learn here? And usually often, almost always, there's something to learn here from a little bit of critique.
Yes. we're running up on time, but there's one question I want to ask you, and this will be the last question. I think it's interesting. You talked earlier where you were wondering if serendipity is really going to be hot. And so you were wondering when is the right time to release a book about it. And I'm curious, how do you take into account predicting what will sell? Because that's hard to
So,
do. Yeah.
yeah, well, I did. You do have to think about it. Who, and I think that is a good exercise for every single author. It's highly unlikely you're going to write something great and people are magically going to find it and buy it and love it. You have to think about why would someone read this? Is it timely? Is it relevant? Who does it apply to? What are the groups? What are the ways? And so for me, the vast majority of my sales have been point of purchase after a speaking event. So again, I think about what are the groups I can speak to. And every single book that I've written, I have spoken to 50 to 100 crowds on that book in the course of that venture of that book. Small crowds, large crowds, private venues, public, and so you have to think about those people. But like resilience, when I wrote Resilient Life way back when, resilience was a very popular academic term, and it was just becoming part of words we said in public. And now you can't watch a game without a sportscaster talking about this resilient player or team. I mean, it's just a word we all know, but it was not popular when I wrote it. I would like to say I popularized it. I did not. But but maybe I was part of the people who, and I did. That was a very popular book. I sold a ton. I got so many speaking gigs on that. It was great. But there are others that are just perennial issues. Graceful Transitions was my second book, and I just did two corporate talks on that one. That book was written in 2012. I did two corporate private talks on that last week and this week um, to two publicly traded companies, and they are doing a great job with employee resource groups. And it was an old topic for me, but it was relevant to them still. And so I don't know. It's a thing you think about.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you can always think about how is it relevant today? And how could it continue to be relevant with the next edition or
Hmm.
an update? Because you can always update, add in the next edition.
That's right.
I'm in the third edition of one of my books this weekend.
Right.
And it's because I've had more insights about this particular experience, which is life after caregiving ends. When I wrote it, I was in the middle of caregiving. Caregiving has ended for me. And I thought, I probably should revisit that with some additional insights. So that's what I'm doing this weekend.
Yeah. Good.
Oh, this was fun. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, Bruce, this was awesome. Okay, so for our listeners and viewers who want to buy books from you and connect with you, what's your website address?
Yeah. BruceMcIntyre.com. You can buy directly from me, BruceMcIntyre.com. You'll see books up along the top line. And Amazon, the books are on there, of course, and various other places.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. This is really great.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening. Thanks for all you do. And be sure to stop by caringourway.com and keep us posted on how you're managing. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.